So first year is very tough, and then it settles down because it's not because life is settling, it's because you are settled and stronger as a person. In the first paragraph, what I'm talking about, I give the conclusion solely based on the first paragraph.
Hey guys, we have Urshita with us. Is currently in India, but she has been studying in Australia for the past. How long, Urshita? The past?
Uh, 1.5. I complete my last, and I'm in my last semester
Last
almost. I
semester,
completed.
right? And she is studying in one of the best universities of the world, that is Australian National University. I'm going to giving the mic to her now, but before that, the video is going everything from her journey as an Indian student abroad, specifically in Australia, the process, how applications turn out, part-time job opportunities, um, how what problems Indians usually face, her tips for students planning to go abroad in the future. Please, Ruchita, can you just give a small introduction of where you did your bachelor's from? Now, of course, what masters you are doing right now, and yeah, that's it. And of course, before that, just to brief, Ruchita is my batchmate, and first of all, I want to thank Ruchita for taking out time creating this to help other students.
Hello. So my educational background is very simple. I did my Bachelor's of Science honors in chemistry from Stephens, and then I started pursuing my MSc in Material Sciences, 23 mid around. Yeah, and then I am completing it in 25, so it's my last semester when I go back. And that's pretty much it. Like, I'm looking forward to MPhil, pretty much.
And first question and the most important one, what made you actually apply to colleges abroad? Why not India?
So fresh out of Stephens, I did apply in India.
Okay,
Applied everywhere, standard. You're applying for masters through JAM. You're applying for IPHD
right,
through TIFR, and I think there was separate interview for IISCR,
right,
ISET. So I applied everywhere I could find,
right.
and I got TIFR Bombay. So
Sure.
that was my first thing. But simultaneously, I applied abroad. I applied to UK and Europe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got into UK. I don't know, MSc or whatever they call it, nanomaterials,
Okay.
and it was in Manchester.
Alliance Manchester,
What?
Manchester University.
Manchester University. Erasmus, I applied to Sweden because one of my friend is in Sweden
Okay.
and he was guiding me in the process. I applied to Sweden separately and then Erasmus.
Okay. Under Erasmus.
Yeah, that
And
was everywhere I applied in my first year. I wasn't looking at Australia uh, because everybody was, US, Canada, you can't go until it's a 4-year degree.
right.
And like super seniors applied to Europe and then UK. So it was an easy choice. I applied everywhere. I gave all those exams,
Right.
and then yeah, I got I got UK abroad, and then Erasmus. Sweden, I failed miserably. They again had that condition that it has to be a 4-year program for masters.
Okay. Then
So
maybe one important point for everyone. Like a lot of people don't know about this. West may use 4-year undergrad. Even for Canada, it's the same. A lot of European colleges also. I also recently heard that they do require a 4-year undergrad. That's one point to know. Second thing that I would want to ask Kurshita over here is, how has been your experience of going through the application? What all you had to draft on your own? What all documents were needed to get where you are?
so I like some colleges have 3 LORs, but mostly it was 2 LORs. There was SOP, and some had a motivation letter different from SOP because it was like you're from a science background, eventually looking into research, so they asked for a specific motivation for your research.
Okay, motivation for your research.
Yeah. And then transcripts.
So did you take any help from any external agents or companies, or you did this completely?
So until Australian applications, I did not.
Okay, until Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it tough though, like writing your own essay, getting your LORs from your referee? How was it?
I remember that I just found like two, three sample SOPs
Okay.
and I structured it because I structured in the sense that, like, with every paragraph, what is the conclusion that the committee will see? Give your educational background, but you don't just give your educational background very plainly. You
Hmm.
have to give it in a sense of achievements, not even college achievements. So say I'm saying I completed my first year. I will not end up saying that, oh, this was my course, these are the courses I took,
Right.
this is the internship I did, this is the resume, right?
Right.
You have to highlight it in a certain way. Like, I did like three internships. So
Right.
each time I'm mentioning an internship, I'm just like, uh, it's a standard format. I went for this because I was interested in this knowledge,
Right.
and through this internship, I was able to work and gain experience in this.
Right. Makes sense.
And
So, I mean,
yeah,
this is something that we also really uh, as a principle in the documents we did, like talking about the whys. It what made you pursue that? What made you take that internship? Right? Because a lot of people make this mistake, like you mentioned, that that's your resume where you just talk about what happened. This is basically an SOP that's a journey that where you can explain why you did things the way you wanted to and how it is directly relevant to the degree you are targeting. This is where you talk about that. So I mean, that's perfectly fine. And if Urshita would be comfortable, I'm not so sure. She can share her SOP also with the students, one of the SOP,
yeah,
and if she would be comfortable again. Um, but yes, please guys do make a point of always trying to make your SOP different than your resume. No point it should really look like a resume. Something that a lot of students do as a mistake.
a lot of times you have to begin from the beginning because your SOP is a story. So you have to explain your drive from the beginning. Say, why did you pursue this bachelor's?
Right.
That journey begins before deciding your degree.
Right.
So you have to start from the beginning that I was curious, I was a good learner, and I through my hard work I achieved talent. Like, this is your story. You have to begin from the beginning, highlight your experiences and your growth through those experiences.
Right.
And usually people, like, for me, I was able to recognize that you don't just mention your professional experience. There are two more things you can mention. You can mention all the activities that you did.
Okay.
So you remember our college had a lot of societies and clubs, and if you highlight that you were, like, because your professional is like, I went for an internship, this internship developed me in a certain way, but every time you go out to a society and you work for it, you are able to learn that discipline. You are also able to learn drive, but with, like, you're driven, right? That's why you join it. But you learn discipline and time management. And obviously, if you're volunteering for anything, it gives you a sense of humbleness and that a sense of balance also. So you have to highlight your sports interest, for example, and if you volunteered,
Right.
the volunteer work you did and what, because this is your personal journey. SOP is that personal journey. You can always, some colleges actually do require that you do like a different thing about the career. Like,
So they
so
have like their own questions about careers.
So, for if you're going for a research intensive degree, you will typically have an SOP and a motivation letter specifically for the profession. So that's what, like, if you're able to incorporate your life experiences through sports, volunteer work, that also goes a long way
Right.
between selection and rejection.
Right.
And a lot of times people don't, uh, I don't know if people do that, but I don't think people would highlight their strengths, soft skill strengths. And for me, like, if you are going for an interview based on your SOP,
Right.
like, they will look at the strengths, but you have to be ready for the interview with your weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah. So, with the SOPs that our seniors gave, these were the common traits of all of it. They began their journey
Right.
before the bachelor's, and it's a personal journey that they highlighted.
Right.
And again, with the internship or the coursework they took, they are able to say what motivated me and what I have achieved through all my effort. And they're also highlighting volunteer work, sports, and because it gives you a lot in your character. And you can also go for another paragraph separately for your strengths as a person. Because if I'm say very good at time management, it will show in my CV. But you also have to decode it in your SOP that I was so good at time management. I did like 2 internships and
Right.
uh,
So resume is more about telling things, and SOP is more about doing things. What we can.
I, I think it's very important to mention your strengths, uh, and it shouldn't be very shallow in things that you don't have. Say if I'm saying I have good communication skills and then you don't have it, it won't go a long way. You'll get caught in interview.
Okay. There will be cross questioning from your SOP.
So say you are selected based on your SOP and professional motivation, and the professor wants to know you abroad. They want to know you because you're gonna work in their lab for a very long time, and they are like wholly responsible for you.
Right.
So they want to check if you will work well and if you're overall a good fit for the lab and the ethics of the lab. So they don't just say like what is your professional background. They end up interacting one on one and they do judge you on the qualities.
Right.
And a lot of times, work ethic they are able to judge very well, and not just work ethic. I feel like they judge a lot of things because, like in an interview, you will be a little nervous and you will falter. So when you falter, how you like treat yourself in that situation?
Right. So
So that yeah,
preparing yourself. Anything else you want to add on?
that is pretty much it. And make sure that you give your SOP a good conclusion. Yeah.
On top of what Oshita has mentioned, we have discussed the SOP. I want to add one point, like try to make your SOP like a story of your life. Because person whoever is reading this, the sort of job that they have to go through a lot of SOP. And the basic human psychology, even if you read about behavioral science and psychology in general, see that the things that come across as good earlier, they are perceived as good throughout till the end, even if they aren't as good. So the first paragraph is something that really grabs the attention for anyone uh, reading it, even if it's a professor, if it's a person in general also, will also see that if your first paragraph is very, very good, you'll end up like. Try focusing a lot on that and be truthful in sharing your journey, but just share it in a way where other people will love reading every. That's what the goal should be while preparing. Coming back to the question, that is the visa process. Ruchita, how was it for you in general, and was it tough? How were you preparing for it?
Okay, so I just like to add on one thing about SOP.
Yeah.
What I did, I just noticed is that in the first paragraph, what I'm talking about, I give the conclusion solely based on the first paragraph.
Sure.
Like, because first paragraph is my story, second paragraph was for me my growth, third
Mhm.
paragraph was a sort of conclusion to my character.
Right.
But I ended the last paragraph, I gave the conclusion based on my story, not based on my professional growth, personal growth, character. It was solely based on I did this because I loved it and here I am today.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. So in short, you circled back the story from the first paragraph to the end. Both
Yeah.
were connecting.
Yes.
I think that's a very good thing to do. Actually, something we also try to do with our SOP. That when you circle back, it's a moment of what do we say? We say it's a moment of revelation. It's a moment of remembering, right? You're telling them कि "Hey, मैंने first paragraph में ये लिखा था," and it is connecting अभी भी. This is the same thing, and you're ending on that note, right? So it takes a lot of thought to do that. Anybody can just say that, and this is why I am applying to this college because I want to do. That's a very small conclusion that a lot of people write, but it takes more effort to connect your first paragraph to the end, and of course, efforts are recognized by. qualities abroad in India also. So yes, coming down to visa process, Oshita, what do you uh how was the process for you? How is it in general? Were you scared before giving the visa? How did you prepare for it? Tips you.
Australia, for my particular student visa, did not have an interview, and I it was a pretty smooth process because I went for an agency.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
So
They knew all the documents. They just asked me for the documents. I gave all the documents. They applied.
okay,
And it
awesome.
was smooth because I just went through that agency.
Awesome.
No interview.
So you have to go through any sort of interview.
No, my particular visa does not have an interview.
Now coming down to the important not even a question, it's like a topic we can is basically life Australia. So what do you think? How has been your journey till past 1.5 years? What are the best things that you've that you truly admire, and what are the hardships that you would want?
Um, so first year is very tough, and then it settles down because it's not because life is settling, it's because you are settled and stronger as a person.
Right.
My high, there's not like a very good phase ever, except when you find friends and you're able to relax. That's
Right.
the best high phase of your life.
Right.
The lows are really hitting at times. I remember in my first year, I like everybody's new, everybody wants to meet other people and they want to feel settled. So, first semester, you get more friends, you feel more settled in friends. At the same time, it depends on how much you are able to pull through, how much you're able to dedicate yourself to your degree. That first semester ends, you see that first sheet. And so I think everybody should be first thing prepared that they will have to face a lot of things alone, and best support that they're gonna have is their family, because when you're 18 or around that age you find a lot of support in friends, and it's easier to make friends also abroad, but because everybody is so tied up in their own commitment, you have to be prepared to be alone instead of being that happy self that I will find some fun to help me.
Right. So what is the hardest thing that you had to do, in Australia alone? What was the toughest thing that you took time to maybe learn?
I think it's funny. I just talked about all those like achievements and admissions,
Yeah.
but from the moment I landed till my like second semester, I did not feel confident in my own professional abilities at all. I
But
did
is
not
that in comparison to the cohort that you have, comparison to them, or in general thing that you
in
were a bit
front of my professors.
in front of a professor?
Yeah,
Okay. So how is it now?
it's good because first semester was very different than the rest of the year because I had friends. It was easier to settle, and you're trying your best to find a footing in academics. My university is very academically intensive, so there are different experiences than mine. But my experience was I was struggling to find my academic footing at the beginning,
Okay.
and it took that much time. It took about the first 8 months to feel that yeah, I'm on track. So the growth, whether it's personal or professional, it's like first day you show up and you start growing. The growth is completely unparalleled, and you have to have that 8 month 6 month point to know that you have grown. Those initial phases you're growing, but it's a struggle. You don't realize it until you have grown a bit.
That's one part of going abroad, that you sometimes have to be alone. Talking about, so are you like right now living with your relatives in Australia?
I have an aunt in Australia, but she has her own house, her own family, so I live at dorms.
Okay. That is something, because a lot of students are not living in dorms. They basically take flats, and they live in hostels nearby the campus. So what do you feel about the average living expenses for an Indian over there? Do you have an idea about that? What can someone expect?
So the rent is weekly. It begins at 120, 150.
Australian dollars.
Yes, and it can go easily up to 500, 550. But I think you should pay somewhere in the middle because you don't want to compromise on your locality.
I mean, in something like in Melbourne, it's gonna be a bit more expensive.
So no, it starts the same about
Acha.
everywhere, and then there are different places giving different options.
And this is just the rent, right? How much uh, would you say, like, for all the other expense, like your food, other necessary items? So how much would that amount?
There's not a lot you can eat outside, and you should not because it's not that healthy. You have to cook yourself, and the groceries are pretty average. They're average, they're not expensive, but the problem is the conversion rate of currency is bad.
Right. For Indians, they are looking for Indian. Uh, they're desperate for it when they're abroad. That's what I've.
You should not look.
You
It's
should.
not gonna be there. Anywhere in the world, you can just simply ask, and you're looking for Indian food, you can really find a good Indian place.
So I mean, are there Indian places like
Yeah,
especially in
so if
Australia?
you're in a residential colony, and you can find an Indian place in the residential colony, but if you're planning to stay like at the hostel at the university, no.
Coming to the next very important question. Uh, First, I mean, I would say sub question of that is like part-time job opportunity, because a lot of people actually go abroad to take huge, and they would want to waive off their living expenses by working part-time. Is that actually a possibility? If so, how tough is it to get um part-time job, and how much do Indians get paid on an average?
So with I'll just like cover broadly the finances.
Yeah.
I'll take it from a point that you don't have your parents' money.
Right.
You are planning on completely funding yourself.
Right.
So if so, the first thing is rent. Second
Right.
thing is groceries.
Yeah.
Rent usually includes utilities.
Yeah.
And I think you will end up saving a bit of money if you give rent with utilities instead of separating the bills. Yeah. And then it's controversial, but I think it's that. And rent and groceries and utilities, these would be your bills, like uncompromisable bills. And Australia is expensive. If you're planning to try to recover your money from the educational fees,
Right.
Australia is not a good idea. You should initially plan on scholarships or fee waivers because with part-time work you can manage your rent and utilities, your free groceries, utilities.
Right.
But if you're planning that you'll also be able to pay every fees on your own, no,
That won't be possible.
no,
That would be an unrealistic.
yeah.
And is it easy to find a part-time job?
Yeah, part-time jobs are available easily, but they are and they are paid just enough. So in Australia, you have a rule that you can work a maximum of 20 to 24 hours.
Okay.
With my visa, they changed the rules, and it's $50 an hour maximum, but it starts at 30.
Okay, $30 an hour.
Let us just assume it's 30 and it's 20, so we have $600 per week. It sounds a lot, but then and because I say rent is 150,
Yeah.
no, it's not. If
150 is the minimum.
yeah, so like if you're earning 600 approx, you can earn around 700 also. Depends on the job, and but with 700 of like around 600-700, you will be able to manage all your expenses. Usually, the rent is not 150 because if you're at a place that is offering you 150 rent, you're far away from campus.
Right.
And if you're expecting yourself to show up every day to campus with all that travel, I don't think it would be worth it. And rent around campus increases at least 200, 220, 250. And groceries, I have heard some people have around less than 50 a week, but I don't think it's gonna be less than 50 a week for most people.
So it is not
Your money will never be enough.
exactly so.
Yeah,
Expenses are so much. You will get jobs easily, but
yeah.
it won't be enough. Makes
Mm.
sense. And what type of opportunities do you usually get? Is it like working in restaurants, or there a
Yeah,
specific? type of job that's preferred by Indians?
Most people work at cash counters, grocery stores,
Okay.
restaurants. Yeah. Grocery stores and restaurants are the most popular ones.
Okay.
And recently they have started delivery services. So that and Uber. I don't know Uber. Yeah, rental companies, car rentals.
Makes sense. And talking about the biggest question, actually, that most of the people planning to go, are there people getting jobs in Australia after they graduate? Are there full time opportunities? So again, how easy is it? How difficult is it? What are the criterias companies are looking for in general?
So the job market is tough. It is very competitive,
Right.
and you need good recommendation to step into a job profile you like. Recommendation, I think, goes a long way,
Right.
and there are very limited opportunities for specialized individuals. And one trick that everybody uses is that there are elective courses, right? There are always elective courses. So they opt for industrial experience in those courses
Okay.
because it becomes easier to land the job. Like if you have like four electives, you can take them all together in your last semester, and you all four of them will pay an internship at a company. Yeah.
That's one
Uh,
trick that people usually.
yes, yes. Job market is pretty tough, it's pretty cutthroat, and a letter of recommendation goes the farthest. Your, your resume does not go as far as an LOR. Resume, they have a very strong work ethic and then a very strong work culture.
Right.
So they will look at your not so much at courses, what your courses were, what your grades were. They will look at that experience and how useful you have been in your previous internship, in your previous position.
Okay. So internship would be getting these.
It's a very important step because I feel like the people who were placed easily, they started early and they did land internships.
Would you suggest going to Australia to thinking they're gonna get a job that's worth after that, or they're gonna be burdened by, because there's a huge chunk of doing this happens. Would you suggest Australia to, is it that easy? Should rather reconsider, collect their finance, have something in mind कि ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि हमें वापस.
So, like, the education is really expensive in Australia. It does not matter what you're applying for, where you're applying. The education is expensive,
Right.
but first preference would be not to take a loan, not to spend your own money,
Right.
to aim for university fee waivers or look at scholarships
Hmm.
beforehand because you don't want to pay those fees. They are hefty. And in case you're paying those fees, it's very tricky to manage savings and loans
Right.
because it's almost sure that the fees is hefty. You will have to take a part loan, and I think somebody who does not get a scholarship or already doesn't have their own savings, they they will have to take that loan, and if they're expecting to pay it off, it won't be immediate at all. It will take those 3 years of working and not just working anywhere, you take around 3 years of a good profile work to pay off your student debt. I still think it's best to go for scholarships beforehand and stipend, like fee waivers basically. If you're not getting money to support yourself, there's enough part-time work to apply for, and uh, there's enough part-time work to apply for. You will get that part-time work, but you have to like but if you're expecting that you will be able to earn extra money, you will not be able to earn extra money from that part-time work. It's zero balance at the end of the day.
Right. So it's better if you get a scholarship.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you cannot expect a very huge ROI out.
yeah, yeah. It pays really well if you're from a very good university with complete mobility across the world. Because what you gain in that degree, you will not gain anywhere in the world. So eventually, you will be able to pay to, like, it's not a 5 year plan. Your degree should be a 10 year plan.
Could you give examples of such colleges in Australia that you would suggest in general?
So Australia has a group of 8 universities. If you
Right.
type group of 8 Australia, you will get a list of top 8 universities, and top 8 to top 10 is the place to be, because it will give you that mobility. But at the same time, because they're in the top 10, they're more expensive.
So top 10 maybe if you were to pick up like top 3 or top 4
Yeah.
for people who are like very ambitious, what would you suggest? I think Melbourne is going to be one of.
University of Melbourne, Sydney, South Wales, ANU,
Right.
and don't remember anymore. Maybe Monash.
Nash, and I think Adelaide. What about Adelaide? Is that also
It's in top 10, yes.
top 10? I think Melbourne, ANU, Sydney, UNSW. That's
Yeah.
also what I've seen. I've been talking to people. They are the best colleges in Australia. Why even I've been why even go for the top 8, right? Target the 5. First, maybe you can have back.
Usually, what happens is that
Yeah.
the funding, the scholar, sorry, the refund amount that you get,
Okay.
if say the fee is 20,000,
Right.
so the more prestigious the university, the fewer money they are willing to spend in not taking your fees. Like if ANU has 20 fee waivers available,
Right.
Melbourne will have 15. Like it
Okay. So
goes.
the better the ranking, the lesser
Yeah.
the chance of getting funding from colleges.
Yeah.
First, right? It has to be true. Then that's how the prestigious name is maintained, right? Because this is also an image overall, not just in Australia. Like in general, top colleges don't offer huge scholarship because they have a lot of good applicants applying. They don't need to. Usually, scholarship is a lucrative for good candidate, right? Ki come to our college, right? It's an incentive for you.
Yeah.
So good अच्छे colleges में there are already a lot of applicants applying. So वहाँ पे this definitely goes off. Of course, you have to take sort of a risk if you are not getting that sort of a scholarship or that funding from college. You have to spend. Market is tough right now, especially right now. Uh, so वहाँ पे you have to take a bit of a risk. Of course, with the right connections, maintaining good connection with your alumni. Um, it would work out well. Lastly, I want to ask, what is advice that you would want planning to study abroad in general? What would
So I think it's easy to prepare to be abroad,
yeah,
but it's not. You think that okay, you have been preparing, you will land there, and things will go smooth.
right,
And things can go smoother than, like, there can be different level of smoothness for different people.
right,
But the most difficult thing is to maintain. Because even if you're alone, even if you're in friends, say you have to cook. Cooking is not a choice, it's
necessity,
maintenance. So if you're cooking thrice a week, if you're cooking twice a week, it's difficult to keep up. You can cook easily 2 months, but that third month you should be prepared mentally that you have to do it. You can't let that discipline go. And it will be easy to let that discipline go and just lose it, especially in high pressure situations.
right. This is one mental challenge they have to be.
Yeah.
And how are people abroad in general? Are they welcoming, or how is the need, especially in
So Australia is a very nice country. It's a very beautiful country. And people are very polite, but they are welcoming you into their nation only if you have professional expertise and you are very distinguished. You have to distinguish yourself from all the international people in there.
that's more of a professional advice you're giving. What about in general, right? Because we hear a lot of situations and racism remarks Indians face in
Yeah,
European
yeah.
countries. I haven't heard that much about. What do you really think about that? Are they welcome in that way?
So they are welcoming in a professional capacity, but if you want to get to know them very personally,
Right.
that is a tough thing to be.
Mm.
So, because like imagine I'm born and raised in a country, I already have my family settled, I have my school friends,
Yeah.
and I'm already say in second year of college.
Right.
I am already very settled to make new friends. And, it's easier to settle with an international crowd. I'm not saying Indian crowd, mind you. It's easier to settle in an international crowd. So, like, if you're expecting Australians to be very hospitable and welcoming as a person, no, they are very balanced individuals. They will not mistreat you, they will not misspeak with you, but at the same, they are helpful. My homies were really helpful. My housemates, they were really helpful
Right.
because I could talk very honestly with them, and uh, I'm talking very honestly, and but if I expect them to be there at my beck and call like true friends, it would be difficult for them because they're already very settled in their lives. And it's easier to settle into an international crowd, not Indian crowd, international crowd with multiple ethnicities,
Right.
because those people are looking for friends, they are looking for memories, they're looking for connections.
So for
Yeah,
them, it's for Australian for people, it's about their culture and they are locals over there. But
yeah,
international, like people who are from Europe and who are
yes,
from, they would treat you equal.
yes.
And how many Indians are there in your class, right?
Uh, in my like the ratio is around, like if there are 1,000 people, 500 are Australian, and 300 Chinese and 200 Indians on that figure, in
Yes.
that ratio.
I mean, my last question was more about SOP. I think you covered SOP very well. I might as well, cut that portion out and make a separate video. Um, that's it from my side. Urshita, is there anything to say to anyone out there? Any message you want? Anything before?
I think I covered most things, that it is difficult to maintain. You will have that high where you find belongingness, but at the end of the day, the worst that you're facing alone or with your family, because people will not end up having too much time to be there for you, and it's mostly difficult to maintain. I think the only thing that I haven't said is that it's important to have a drive, to have your focus.
Even
So it's not enough, because if you have your drive, you will show up every day. If you have your focus, that you will realize that, say, if I have bad on one assignment, but you're still focusing that I have another opportunity. So that focus needs to be there, and you need to show up every day. That is your drive. If you don't have interest, you won't be able to show up at all. And you have to be very tolerant of a lot of things in your professional career, that if you're not doing well, you have to tolerate it for a while and
right.
have that focus that I will do well next time, it's another opportunity. And I mean it, like if there are five assignments and you flunk one, you have to look at the other assignment with a positive eye. And like you talked to me about finances, and I ended up saying that yeah, rent begins at 150, but you should be prepared to go up more than 150 so that you're not stuck in a bad locality, because that goes a long way. See, so my first place was not very nice. It was around 250. It was not very nice. The second place is around 330. You can feel like a pinch in the price.
Right.
I did not find community support in my first place, and I find amazing support in my second place.
Right.
So you don't want to put yourself through bad company.
Especially when you're in a different.
And
Thank.
mostly it's easy to earn enough to survive, not enough to provide for yourself. If I'm earning enough, if whatever I'm earning, I will end up spending it on myself. Um, and if you're like looking to recover an educational loan, it is better to just beforehand aim for fee waivers or scholarships. But if at the end of the day you're having a part loan or you're having a full loan, you should not look at it as money that you have to recover immediately. You should look at it as a fact that this is the investment I'm making on myself and it will have to pay out in the long run. So if you're taking like say 10 lakh loan or 25 lakh loan for a degree that does not have a value, it will not pay out in the long run. Say you do a job, but you do a job or you're stuck in a dead end job.
Right.
After all that money,
Right.
it's not gonna
So
be
so
worth
it's not gonna be worth it if you don't really have a clear plan as what you and that the degree should be worth. That's the
it.
most important. Your research, talk to people who are currently studying that you are targeting. Get a feedback from where people end up being. What are the options after this? You can curate your plan. You can then see if this is worth taking a risk or not. Right? Because 25, 30 is a common
Yeah.
as a loan. It's a very huge. You are not able to uh, recover that within 2 years. Might be a huge burden. It might be a huge burden on the that you would in that country want to come back to India. Won't be able to because caught up in that. It really thorough with your research, see if it's actually worth it, and if it's worth it, go for it, take the risk, and be ready to struggle. That's what a good option. Thanks a lot, Rushita. Thanks a lot for time, Ari. Um, and to everyone else, I hope some things might when you are planning have any concern, problem. Um, bye guys.